At my son's anniversary dinner, his wife introduced me to her friends as the Handyman. "This is Harold, the Handyman," my daughter-in-law Victoria said with that fake smile of hers. "He fixes things around our house. Isn't that sweet?" She was introducing me to her wealthy friends at what was supposed to be a family celebration. My son David's second wedding anniversary dinner at the most expensive steakhouse in town. And this woman had just reduced me to hired help. My name is Harold Pierce. I'm 60 years old, and if you're watching this, you need to know what happened next. Because that insult was the biggest mistake Victoria Coleman Pierce ever made in her life. See, Victoria didn't know who I really was. For 2 years, I'd been playing the role of a simple retired contractor living on Social Security. I drove an old Ford pickup, wore work clothes, and lived modestly in my original family home. I wanted to test her character. I wanted to see what kind of woman my son had married. The test results were about to come in. Let me back up and tell you how this all started. I built Pierce Construction from nothing back in 1985. Started with just me, a beat-up truck, and enough tools to frame a house. Worked 16-hour days for the first decade, sleeping in the truck between jobs sometimes. By the time David was born in 1994, I had 20 employees and enough work to keep us busy year-round. The construction boom of the 2000s changed everything. We expanded into logistics, moving materials for other contractors, then freight for anyone who needed it. By 2015, Pierce Construction and Logistics employed 300 people and was worth about $8 million. I stepped back from day-to-day operations at 55, let my hand-picked CEO Anderson run things while I stayed majority owner. David grew up understanding hard work, spent summers on job sites, learned to operate equipment, treated our crews with respect. He was everything I could want in a son and heir. Smart, humble, knew the value of earning what you got. Then he met Victoria. She was working as a regional sales manager for one of our competitors when they started dating in 2021. Beautiful woman, no question. Long blonde hair, perfect smile, knew how to dress and carry herself. David was smitten from day one. Can't blame him. She was stunning and seemed to genuinely care about him. They married in spring 2022. Small wedding, which surprised me since Victoria seemed to love attention. But she said she wanted something intimate, just family and close friends. I respected that. Gave David $50,000 as a wedding gift to help them get started. Victoria was grateful, or at least acted like it. That's when I started my little experiment. I wanted to see how she'd treat David's family when she thought we couldn't do anything for her. So I played poor. Told them I'd had to sell the business cheap due to health issues, was living on a small pension, drove the old work truck, wore my construction clothes, acted like money, was tight. David was confused but went along with it. He thought maybe I was having some kind of midlife crisis, trying to recapture my blue-collar roots. Victoria? She bought it completely. Her whole attitude toward me changed overnight. Before the revelation, she'd been sweet as pie. Called me dad, asked about my day, included me in conversations. After I told them about my supposed financial troubles, I became invisible. Family dinners got uncomfortable. She'd answer her phone during conversations with me, talk about me like I wasn't there, make little comments about getting by on fixed income. The real change came 6 months after the wedding when Victoria somehow landed a job at Pierce Construction and Logistics. She had no idea I owned the company. Anderson hired her for our logistics division, said she had impressive credentials and came highly recommended from her previous employer. I told him not to give her any special treatment, but don't sabotage her either. I wanted to see what kind of employee she'd be. Turned out she was the kind who spent more time networking than working, always schmoozing with higher-level employees, trying to get invited to company events, positioning herself for promotions she hadn't earned. But she was good at her job, I'll give her that. Hit her sales targets, kept clients happy, knew how to present herself professionally. At home, though, she started showing her true colors. David would tell me about their arguments over money. She wanted a bigger apartment, newer car, designer clothes. When David said they couldn't afford it on their salaries, she'd point out how other couples their age seemed to have more. She never said it directly, but the implication was clear. If David's family had money, why were they struggling? She started making comments about my situation, how sad it was that I'd worked so hard and had so little to show for it. how David shouldn't have to support me financially, how it would be better if I moved to some kind of senior community where I could be around people my own age. Each comment was delivered with concern, like she was looking out for everyone's best interests. David defended me, bless him, told her I was family and family takes care of each other. But I could see the strain it was putting on their marriage. She was slowly poisoning him against me, making him choose between his wife and his father. That's when I knew the test was working exactly as designed. So there I was, sitting at this fancy restaurant watching Victoria hold court with her social media friends. The whole anniversary dinner had been her idea. A surprise celebration for David, she'd called it, though it seemed more like an excuse to show off than celebrate anything meaningful. She'd invited 8 people, none of them David's friends, all of them from her social circle. Real estate agents, marketing executives, a couple who ran some kind of online business. The kind of people who talked about networking and personal branding over $40 steaks. David looked uncomfortable, but he was trying to be a good sport about it. Victoria had gone all out. Designer dress that probably cost more than most people make in a week. Jewelry that caught the light every time she gestured, which was constantly. She'd ordered a $200 bottle of wine without asking anyone else what they wanted. The whole performance was designed to impress, and her audience was eating it up. Harold here is so helpful around the house, she continued, still talking about me like I was some kind of pet. Just last week he fixed our garbage disposal. These blue-collar guys, they're so handy with tools and things. Her friends nodded politely. One of them, a woman in her 40s with too much Botox, actually patted my hand and said, "That's wonderful that you stay active, Harold. So important at your age." At my age, like 60 was 1 foot in the grave. David looked mortified. Dad built his own business from scratch, he said, quietly. He's not just some handyman. Victoria waved her hand dismissively. Oh, honey, I know you're proud of your father. But there's nothing wrong with honest work. Not everyone can be an executive, right, Harold? That's when I saw him. Anderson was sitting 3 tables away with his wife and another couple celebrating something, probably a business deal. He'd been the operations manager when I stepped back from day-to-day control 5 years ago. Brilliant guy, understood both the construction and logistics sides of the business. When I decided to semi-retire, there was no question who should take over as CEO. Anderson's eyes met mine across the restaurant. I could see the confusion on his face. He knew I lived modestly, knew I preferred my old truck to fancy cars, but he also knew exactly who I was and what I was worth. He'd been signing my dividend checks for years. I watched him process what he was seeing. The shabby clothes, the awkward family dynamic, Victoria's condescending tone. His jaw tightened. Anderson had worked his way up from a crew foreman position. He understood respect, and he understood when someone was being disrespected. Victoria was still holding forth about different types of people when Anderson stood up from his table. His wife tried to stop him, probably sensing trouble, but he was already walking over. Good evening, Anderson said as he reached our table. His voice was carefully controlled, but I could hear the steel underneath. I hope I'm not interrupting. Victoria's eyes lit up. She loved meeting important people, and Anderson looked important. Expensive suit, confident bearing, the kind of presence that came from real authority. Not at all, Victoria gushed. Please join us. We're celebrating David and my anniversary. I'm Victoria Pierce, and this is my husband, David. Anderson shook David's hand politely, then turned to me. Mr. Pierce, he said quietly. It's been too long, sir. The table went silent. Victoria's smile faltered, slightly. Oh, you two know each other? Harold, you didn't mention knowing business executives. Anderson looked at her for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone used to being obeyed. Ma'am, Harold Pierce is the founder and majority owner of Pierce Construction and Logistics. He's the man who built the company I have the privilege of running. You could have heard a pin drop. Victoria's mouth opened and closed without making a sound. Her friends stared. David looked confused, trying to process what he'd just heard. But I just sat there, cutting my steak like nothing had happened. That's impossible, Victoria whispered. He drives a beat-up truck. He lives in that little house. That beat-up truck belongs to the man who signs my paychecks, Anderson said coldly. And yours too, Mrs. Pierce, considering you work in our logistics division. The wine glass slipped from Victoria's hand. It hit the marble floor with a crash that seemed to echo through the whole restaurant. Red wine spread across the white tablecloth like blood. Other diners turned to stare. "Mr. Pierce," Anderson continued, looking directly at me, "should I address the employment situation we discussed in our last board meeting?" This was perfect. Anderson thought I was talking about Victoria specifically, but we'd actually been discussing performance reviews across all divisions. Still, his assumption was understandable given what he'd just witnessed. I finally spoke, my voice calm and measured. "Yes, Anderson, I think that would be appropriate." Victoria's eyes darted frantically between Anderson and me. "Employment situation? What employment situation?" "Mrs. Pierce," Anderson said formally, effective immediately, "your employment with Pierce Construction and Logistics is terminated. Security will escort you from the premises Monday morning." The silence that followed was beautiful. Victoria's carefully constructed world was crumbling in real time, right there, in front of her social media friends. The woman who'd spent 2 years treating me like hired help had just discovered that the hired help owned the company. But Victoria was nothing if not adaptable. I could see her mind racing, calculating. If Harold owned the company, if he had real money, then everything changed. The modest lifestyle wasn't poverty. It was choice. The old truck wasn't necessity. It was preference. And she'd just spent 2 years insulting the golden goose. "Harold," she said, her voice completely different now. Soft, almost pleading. "I had no idea. You never said, why didn't you tell us?" David was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. "Dad, is this true? You own Anderson's company?" Anderson answered for me. "Your father doesn't just own it, son. He built it from nothing. Pierce Construction and Logistics employs 300 people and generates $8 million annually. Your dad is one of the most respected businessmen in the state." Victoria's face had gone pale under her carefully applied makeup. Her friends were whispering among themselves, probably already planning how to spin this story on social media. The anniversary dinner had become a disaster, but not the kind Victoria had been planning for. I stood up slowly, placed my napkin on the table, and looked around at the faces staring back at me. "Thank you for a lovely evening," I said calmly. "David, we should talk soon. Victoria, I think you have some thinking to do." Then I walked out of the restaurant, leaving behind the wreckage of Victoria's carefully constructed lies. The next week was when Victoria learned what real power looks like. Her credit cards, which were linked to family accounts I'd set up years ago, suddenly stopped working. The car lease, paid through Pierce Logistics employee benefits, was terminated. The luxury downtown apartment she'd insisted David rent? Turned out the building was owned by one of my subsidiary companies. David called me the morning after the dinner, his voice shaking. "Dad, we need to talk. Victoria's been up all night crying. She says she didn't know, says she's sorry for how she treated you." "Come by the house," I told him, alone. He showed up an hour later looking like he hadn't slept. We sat on my front porch, the same spot where I'd taught him to tie knots and change oil when he was a kid. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. "All this time I thought you were struggling. I've been sending you money every month." That hit me harder than Victoria's insults. My son, making $45,000 a year, had been sending his old man $200 every month because he thought I needed help. That's the kind of man I'd raised. And Victoria had been slowly poisoning that generosity. "Son, I wanted to see who Victoria really was when she thought I couldn't do anything for her. Turns out she showed me exactly who she is." David stared at his hands. "She wants to come apologize. Says she was just stressed about money, didn't mean any of it. Stressed about what money? David?" That's when it all came out. Victoria had been hiding debt for months. Credit cards maxed out on designer clothes and spa treatments. Online shopping binges that she'd hide from David. She'd even taken out personal loans using David's information, telling the lenders he'd co-signed when he never had. "How much debt are we talking about?" I asked. "Around $75,000, maybe more." She won't show me all the statements. $75,000 in secret debt, on top of 2 salaries totaling $90,000 a year. The math didn't work, which meant Victoria had been living a lie from day one. "There's more, isn't there?" David nodded miserably. "Her friend Jenny called this morning, said Victoria's been bragging about how she's married into money now, how she won't have to work much longer." Jenny thought I knew. While David was processing his wife's betrayal, I was putting other pieces together. I called my security consultant, a former FBI agent named Rodriguez who handled background checks for Pierce Logistics executives. "I need you to look into Victoria Coleman Pierce," I told him. "Full financial background, social media activity, everything." Rodriguez called back the next day. "Mr. Pierce, you're not going to like what I found." Victoria's secret life was more elaborate than anyone imagined. The $75,000 debt was just the beginning. She'd been running multiple social media accounts, each one promoting a different version of her lifestyle. On Instagram, she was the successful executive living the high life. On TikTok, she was the struggling young wife trying to make ends meet. She'd been getting sympathy donations from strangers while simultaneously showing off designer purchases. But the real kicker was the online gambling. Victoria had accounts on 6 different casino sites, each one linked to different credit cards and bank accounts. She'd been chasing losses with bigger bets, the classic addiction spiral. The financial records showed deposits and withdrawals, totaling over $100,000 in just 18 months. "There's also this," Rodriguez said, handing me a manila folder. Inside were printed screenshots from a private Facebook group called Gold Digger Success Stories. Victoria was an active member, sharing tips on how to marry up and access family wealth. Her most recent post, from 3 days before the anniversary dinner, talked about finally figuring out how to crack the family vault. Rodriguez had also discovered something else. Victoria had been meeting regularly with a personal trainer named Marcus Thompson at an upscale gym downtown. The meetings weren't for fitness. Thompson was married with 3 kids, but he and Victoria had been having an affair for 8 months. Their text messages, recovered from Victoria's phone backup, were explicit about both the relationship and their plans to access Harold's retirement money. I felt sick reading those messages, not because of the affair. That was Victoria's character, not David's fault, but because they'd been planning this together, calculating how to manipulate my son into giving them money. The final piece came when Rodriguez checked Victoria's work computer activity. She'd been using Pierce Logistics resources to research family law, specifically inheritance and divorce settlements. She'd downloaded client lists and financial information, probably planning to use them as leverage or sell them to competitors. That's when I knew it was time to end this. I called Anderson and gave him the evidence about Victoria's company computer misuse. Within hours, he'd contacted the FBI about potential corporate espionage. Federal agents take that kind of crime very seriously, especially when it involves a company with government contracts like ours. They raided Victoria and David's apartment on a Thursday morning, found evidence of the gambling, the stolen company data, financial fraud through identity theft. Victoria tried to claim she was a victim of circumstance, said she'd only been trying to help David's career by gathering information. The FBI agents weren't buying it. They'd seen too many cases where spouses used family connections to commit white-collar crimes. David called me from the police station where he'd gone to answer questions. "Dad, they arrested Victoria. The FBI agent said she's looking at federal charges for corporate espionage and identity theft." "I'm sorry, son. I really am." "No, you're not," he said quietly, "and neither am I anymore." The agent showed me printouts of everything: the gambling, the affair, the Facebook group. "She was planning to divorce me as soon as she got access to your money." That evening, David came home to find half his belongings gone. Victoria had made bail and immediately started liquidating anything valuable she could get her hands on. She'd cleaned out their joint account, taken his laptop, even stolen the wedding gifts from his family. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd tried to access my personal bank accounts using information she'd copied from David's files. The security system I'd installed years ago flagged the attempt immediately and locked down everything associated with her name or social security number. Victoria Coleman Pierce was about to learn that stealing from a construction company owner was very different from manipulating a lovesick young man. Victoria's trial made the local news for 3 weeks straight. "Social media influencer faces federal fraud charges" was the headline that ran in papers across 3 counties. Her carefully curated online persona crumbled as the evidence mounted. The prosecution had everything they needed: bank records showing the identity theft using David's information, computer logs proving she'd stolen confidential client data from Pierce Logistics, text messages with Marcus Thompson discussing their plan to get Harold's money and disappear together. The FBI had built an airtight case. Victoria's defense attorney tried every angle, claimed she was a victim of financial abuse, said David and I had driven her to desperate measures by withholding family money, even suggested she was suffering from some kind of shopping addiction that wasn't her fault. The judge wasn't impressed. Mrs. Pierce knowingly used stolen identity information to obtain loans. She deliberately accessed confidential business data without authorization. These aren't the actions of someone seeking help. These are the calculated crimes of someone seeking profit. I attended every day of the trial, not to gloat, but to see justice done. David came with me most days, watching the woman he'd loved reveal herself as a complete stranger. The hardest part was listening to the prosecutors read her social media posts and private messages, seeing how little respect she'd had for him or his family. Victoria got 14 months in federal prison plus 3 years probation and full restitution. Her social media accounts were permanently deleted as part of the sentence. Her influencer career was over before it had really begun. Marcus Thompson, her affair partner, lost his marriage and his gym when his wife found out about the relationship. Turned out he'd been using gym membership fees to fund his lifestyle, including expensive hotels for his meetings with Victoria. His wife filed for divorce and took half the business. Last I heard, he was working as a night security guard. The divorce proceedings were swift once all the evidence came out. David didn't contest Victoria's request to keep her maiden name, said he didn't want her associated with the Pierce family anyway. She tried to claim half of what she thought were David's assets, but since most of what they'd owned was either company property or bought with fraudulent loans, there wasn't much to split. David moved back in with me for a few months while he got his life sorted out. It was good having him around again. We'd have coffee in the morning before work, talk about the business, make plans for expanding the logistics division. He'd grown up a lot through the whole ordeal. "Dad," he said one evening while we were working on his truck in the garage, "I should have listened to you about her from the beginning. Son, you were in love. Love makes smart men do stupid things sometimes. The important thing is you learned to see clearly. How did you know? From the start, I mean." I set down my wrench and looked at him. "Your mother, God rest her soul, she loved you before she ever met me. Loved you when I was just a guy with a tool belt and a dream. Victoria loved what she thought you could get her. Big difference." David took over more responsibility at Pierce Construction after that. Started working directly with crews again, learning every aspect of the business from the ground up. He had good instincts and the respect of our people. They knew he'd been through something difficult and come out stronger. About a year after the divorce was finalized, David met Sarah. She was a kindergarten teacher at the local elementary school, volunteering at a charity event Pierce Construction was sponsoring. She was helping kids build birdhouses with donated lumber, getting sawdust in her hair and paint on her clothes, laughing with the children. I knew she was different from the moment David introduced us. Called me Mr. Pierce until I insisted on Harold. Asked genuine questions about the business, listened to the answers. When David mentioned I'd started as a one-man operation, she said, "That must have taken incredible dedication." Not calculating what it meant financially, just respecting the work itself. They dated for a year before David proposed. Sarah understood what real partnership looked like. She kept working as a teacher after they married, said she loved her job and didn't need to be supported. When David suggested they move into a bigger place, she said the little house they'd rented was perfect for now. Maybe they could save up for something later when they had kids. I walked Sarah down the aisle at their wedding since her father had passed away years earlier. She'd asked if I would, said David's family was her family now. I wore my best suit, but I still drove the old Ford pickup to the church. Some things don't need to change. Victoria wrote letters from prison. Angry ones at first, blaming everyone but herself for her situation. Then pleading ones when she realized no one was writing back. Finally, desperate ones asking for money for commissary items and phone calls. I never responded. Some people deserve second chances, some don't. She was released 6 months ago after serving her full sentence. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she's working at a call center, making $11 an hour, living in a studio apartment, taking the bus to work. All the designer clothes and social media followers in the world can't change who you really are underneath. David and Sarah are expecting their first child this spring. A boy they're planning to name after his grandfather. Sarah brings lunch to job sites sometimes, treats our crews like family. She understands that wealth means responsibility, not privilege. As for me, I'm back to running Pierce Construction alongside David. We've grown to 350 employees now, and every single one of them knows their worth isn't measured by their paycheck, but by their character. The company's doing better than ever. But more importantly, my family is doing better than ever. David learned the difference between a woman who loves you and a woman who loves what you can do for her. That's a lesson worth any price. People ask me if I regret the test I put Victoria through. The truth is, I didn't test her. I just gave her enough rope to show who she really was. Real character doesn't change based on circumstances. It gets revealed by them. I'm proud of the business I built, but I'm prouder of the son I raised and the man he became through adversity. Money comes and goes, but character lasts forever. If someone disrespects you when they think you can't help them, that tells you everything you need to know about their character. And they've just told you exactly how much respect they deserve in. The best way to protect your family from predators isn't to build higher walls. It's to teach them to recognize the difference between people who love them and people who love what they can get from them.